Hi guys, it's Mrs. Moss here, and we're going to continue our discussion of climate, but this time we're going to look at the greenhouse effect. Now, all of the other factors that affect climate, latitude, elevation, mountains, those are geographical and geological factors that humans don't really influence at all. It's just the nature of our Earth and the design of our Earth that creates the climate the way it is. However, the greenhouse effect is actually something that humans can impact. So let's talk a little about what is the greenhouse effect. Now, before we go into the definition, we need to examine and just remind ourselves what insolation is. Insolation is incoming solar radiation from the sun, okay? And you've seen this before, where we know that certain angles and the way that the insolation hits our Earth at certain angles will cause areas to be warmer or cooler depending on that angle of insolation. So let's talk about how that influences the greenhouse effect. Well, the greenhouse effect is a rise in temperature that the Earth experiences because certain gases in our atmosphere trap the energy that's given from the sun. And actually, it's also traps the energy that's re-radiated from the Earth as well. Now, these gases in our atmosphere are water vapor, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane. These are called greenhouse gases. And without these gases, heat would escape and go back into the Earth, into outer space, and our average global temperatures would be about 60 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than they are now. So the greenhouse effect is a good thing for the Earth because it warms us and it allows us to live at certain temperatures and it helps to sustain life. Now, with the greenhouse effect, you see the different wavelengths of the insolation coming from the sun, and that is visible light. As we learned, that is the most predominant form of electromagnetic energy that reaches us. And it comes down into the earth, but then it gets absorbed by the material of the earth. And in this case, in this house, it's getting absorbed by the plants and the tables that are inside the house. Well, then those plants, and that table, and any substance inside that house, or any substance on Earth, will then re-radiate that energy as heat energy, as long wave radiation. And that is what gets trapped in our atmosphere, and in this case, in our house, in the house. So we call it the greenhouse effect because it simulates a greenhouse. And let's look at it at a global scale. Here, it's a very similar diagram, it's just you see that it's impacting the whole entire Earth. When we have the same visible light, the shortwave radiation coming in and reaching Earth's surface, it then gets absorbed by all of the substances on Earth. And if you see over here then, it then will become re-radiated back from the Earth's surface. Now some of that does get reflected back to space or brought out to outer space, but a lot of what's happening is it gets trapped by a lot of that energy gets trapped by the greenhouse gases that are in our atmosphere, and it gets re-radiated back to Earth's surface, making our temperatures warmer and at a comfortable livable space temperature. However, the way we've mentioned it before is that humans can actually impact this effect. And so what has happened is that there has been an accumulation of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. And because of that, our global temperatures are getting more warm every year. And that can have a damaging effect on our planet. So what causes the greenhouse effect? Well, we have gases like carbon dioxide, which make up 55% of the greenhouse gases. And then we have CFCs, and have been much more limited since we've had rules and regulations in government that control products that produce CFCs. And so with human help, we can regulate some of the greenhouse gases that are going into our atmosphere. Nitrous oxide, methane, water vapor, those are all greenhouse gases. And here's the major source of carbon dioxide on our Earth. It's the burning of fossil fuels and pollutions and emissions from cars and transportation. Again, something that humans can have an impact on. We can save greenhouse gases and from going into the atmosphere by reducing the number of fossil fuels that are burned and the amount of fossil fuels that are burned, and by also reducing our carbon footprint that we put on the earth. So that's all for greenhouse effect. We'll talk more about this in class. Hope you got all the notes down and the diagram of the earth. See you next time.